it's Kimberly here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Well, I made a video, the last video, not the hair video, not the last video, the video before that. I made a video about Ruby and Kevin, Franke, and Jodi Hildebrandt, and I got a lot of comments on that video about how Ruby and Kevin are not victims, that the real victims are the children, which, yes, the victims are the children. And I have never tried to exonerate Ruby with anything I've said in any of my videos about this whole situation, about the Franke situation. If anything, I have backed up that she is a bad mother. I have completely agreed that she did a horrible job with her kids, and I don't agree with a lot of the things that she did to her children that Kevin and Ruby both did. But I did acknowledge that I think Jodi is a very dangerous person, and I made a case for how she has a huge trail of victims, probably going back at least 15 years, who knows how long. You know, this acknowledgement of Jodi and her behavior, her extremely manipulative behavior, does not diminish Ruby's guilt, none whatsoever. Ruby is just as guilty as she ever was. I have never tried to take away any guilt from Ruby, Franke, whatsoever, okay? You know, if you're going to make comments like that, watch the entire video, because the whole video centered around the guilt and the damage that Ruby did to these kids, and just the part that Jodi was involved. You know, that doesn't diminish, again, it doesn't diminish Ruby's guilt whatsoever. It just means she's another participant. And I think there were other participants too. I think there were other participants from connections that knew about what was going on, that were there, that may have participated in some of the other maltreatment of those children. So I don't think all the bad actors, bad doers, were arrested. I think they should do more. I think there should be more investigation into this. And like again, you know, there's no part of that video, no part of that video that exonerates Ruby, okay? Have I said it clear? Can you all hear it back there? If you even watched this video to this point, okay? But I do want to thank the ones who did watch the video. They paid attention, they clearly understood, and they followed along the trail that I made for the case that Jodi is an extremely practiced and manipulative person. The judge himself made a comment characterizing Jodi as a very dangerous person. Okay, that goes into the court record, and that will be heard at her parole hearings. You know, that goes into the transcript. When he was pronouncing her sentence, he called her a very dangerous person. That, again, goes into the transcript. It's a record, a court record, and that's a very important part of the court record, because that's what the judge said about her. And she also did not act like she had any remorse. She tried to blame the children for what happened. She tried to blame the injuries on those kids that were on their legs and their arms from being bound up and chained up, handcuffed, or whatever. And she tried to blame it on the kids, that, like, as if it was okay for them to do that, but if the kids struggled against it, I mean, that's a ridiculous way of thinking. But that is what a manipulator will do. They will try to make you believe, you know, the total opposite of the truth, you know. And the truth is, they damaged those children. They physically harmed them, both Ruby and Jodi. And their intersection, these two people meeting, was probably the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever that ever happened to these kids. And Ruby let her religious fanaticism destroy her life and her family's life. And she can only blame herself, but Jodi did play a part in manipulating her. She's extremely, extremely dangerous, I think. And just exactly what the judge said. Her history goes back a long time, many, many years. She has a lot of victims. The same thing that she did to Ruby and Kevin, she did to other people. She's been in court over it. She's been, had her license taken away. She's had, consequences to her actions before Ruby and Kevin. And she did the same thing to other children. The same thing that happened to Ruby's kids happened to other children. Her own niece was one of her own victims. Her niece is all over YouTube or TikTok, I'm not sure, YouTube, TikTok, talking about the same thing happened to her. The same kind of being tied up, being bound, a lot of the same abuse things, treatment, the things that they did, the same thing. She verified the same thing happened to her that happened to these kids. And it happened to her years and years ago. So Jodi has, many victims in her wake. And just because I say that Ruby and Kevin are a victim of Jodi, it takes nothing away, again, from the guilt or the actions that were committed by Ruby or Kevin. They, like Ruby and Kevin over here, just as guilty. Jodi's over here, just as guilty. They both participated. They both did these things to these kids. And I also believe that there was some kind of business partnership. I do. Ruby said in court that they were not business partners. But, I don't really believe that. I was just stating what Ruby said in her her speech to the judge, whatever you want to call it, her speech. I believe, I don't know how, and I already talked about it before even that video. I did say something about how somehow Ruby was, I don't know if she was getting some kind of financial benefit from connections. I didn't know if she was getting a paycheck. I didn't know if she was getting some kind of other type of affiliation that brought in money for her. I didn't know, but somehow I felt that, she works there. She makes videos. She's on a podcast with Jodi Hildebrandt. So they do have some kind of business arrangement, even though she denied it in court. I mean, there's tons of videos of them together at Connection. So they do have a business connection. Yes, I do believe that. Although maybe she didn't get a paycheck from them. Maybe, like I say, there could have been some other business financial arrangement. I don't know what it is or how. They haven't acknowledged that or gone into that. But, I think the escalation of Ruby's treatment towards her kids came about when Jodi came into the picture. Ruby and Kevin were harsh with their kids. They had weird rules, and they did, I just think they did stupid things. They weren't the best parents, And Jodi brought in a lot of the physical abuse. She brought in tactics that Ruby was not doing before. Because on the videos, you could see that her kids were not starving. But after she went to Jodi's property in Ivins, Utah, you can clearly see the difference. And I put photos of the body condition of those children at the end of, not the hair video, but the video before that. I put at the end of that video, there are pictures of the body condition of those kids. No child should be in that condition. And you can tell that that's from months, weeks and months of malnutrition, not being fed, and they're just the attitude, the behavior, they were being brainwashed into that abuse. And the little girl, with her initial E, when they found her, the police actually believed that she was a little boy because her head had been shaved and her body condition was, so skinny and little. I guess she looked like a little boy. And that is the way that she was sitting in that room, the way she would not move, the way she wouldn't get out. That is a part of her being afraid of, getting in worse trouble. And that was from the brainwashing that both Jodi and Ruby did to these kids together. And Jodi's history, it's kind of spotty, but not real. There's not a whole lot of history of her, but there's things that she's done that people have come out of the woodwork, I guess you could say. It's other people that are giving to her history that, she did this to us and the same thing happened to us. There's many couples that say the exact same thing. When I was talking about how Jodi was, it seemed to me like she was trying to prepare some kind of cult-like, I don't know if she's going to try to start her own church or her own cult, or I don't know what it was, but she was building the foundation of that. And I described it with the way that she was separating the men from the women, and also the children were being put in a brainwashed state. And it had a lot to do with a lot of physical work, because a lot of cults, they put their members to work. They go out and work regular jobs. Sometimes they work 80, 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and they bring their paychecks and they give it to the church. And I think in a way she was kind of, I don't know exactly what path she was going down, but she was doing things similar to, that are conducive to cult behavior. And that's what I was leading to towards the end of that video, talking about Jodi being manipulative and Ruby and Kevin being her victims. And the children are the victims of the whole scenario. And I have never, ever tried to diminish that in any way whatsoever. And Jodi seemed to be the catalyst for Ruby. And I don't believe that this would have happened had Jodi not come into the picture. I believe that Ruby would have continued to treat her children not in the best way, but I don't believe that she would have physically harmed them like that. And I don't think that she would have went to complete starvation tactics like what she did. I think the influence of Jodi resulted in this situation. I think that had Ruby not met Jodi, I think she would have continued to treat her kids the way that she did. And at 18, they would have been out, because she had a rule that as soon as you turn 18, you got to get out. She would have kicked them out. And I think that's what would have happened. I don't believe that this scenario would have happened without Jodi. I think clearly she was just the thing that Ruby, being in the state of mind that she was, taking all the hit from all the criticism from the YouTube channel whenever they took Chad's bed away. I think that really bore down on her, and it really just kind of imploded the channel. And Ruby didn't feel like fighting anymore about it. She just kind of let it go. She just let it seep away, let the channel just die. And then at that time, she was hung up on Jodi. She wanted Jodi's attention. Kevin talked about it in his interview, saying that Ruby was jealous of this other couple, the Hannahs, and that she talked about how she should be doing things with Jodi. I don't know. She was just jealous of the other couple and wanted to be in the mix with Jodi, doing whatever. I don't know what. But I feel that's what caused her to change, like veer down a different path in her life. Instead of trying to resurrect the YouTube channel, she chose to do something else. And, at influence, well, actually in social media, we call them social media influencers. And I don't really like that word. I like the word creator, because I think influence, it kind of conjures up like a really controlling kind of behavior. It's, you can be influenced by bad partners, bosses, manipulating friends, friend groups, family, and I I like the word creator better, because it's something that you create. You have something that you're forming of your own opinion. You know, I think when you create something, it's organic and from, you know, your own, just your own build up. And I think influence is you're trying to put that on to people, like you're selectively deciding, you know, I want to build it up in a way that, I don't know, I don't like the word influencer. I like the word creator. It just, to me, it has like a different sound to it, and it like lets you create something, and then if people are open to it, if people like it, you know, they enjoy it, whatever. But I think influence has, I don't know, it reeks of mind control and manipulation. So I just don't like that word. I like the word creator better. And, well, that was just my little explanation or answer back to the people who thought that I was trying to diminish any responsibility or guilt from Ruby or Kevin whatsoever. No, they're both guilty. And I do stand by the fact that I think that Kevin did not know what was going on. He was an absentee parent, which is not good. I wasn't defending him that in any way, shape, or form that he was okay for doing that. But I don't believe that he knew what was happening to his kids. I really don't. But that's his own fault for not, you know, checking in on your kids. But we get that a lot because we have a more maternal society where women take care of the kids more than men do. And that, you know, that happens. Men just, they take off, they leave, and the majority of people who are the main caretakers of children and families are women. You know, if it ever shifted in society that men become the main caretakers, a lot of things, other things will shift. You know, more jobs will be female dominated, more, you know, it would completely shift the whole way the world operates if that ever did happen, you know. Because when you have kids, you have to take care of them. You got to get them up in the morning. You got to feed them. You got to dress them, get them ready, take them to school. You know, the school calls you. You got to go pick them up. You got to buy them clothes. You got to attend to all their little boo-boos and all their things that happen. You know, every stage in their life as they're growing, you have to participate and be there. And that's mostly done by women. Most men, there are single fathers. I'm not taking away from the single fathers, the ones that do it, you know, good for you. You're doing your job as a parent, you know, just like all the women that do it. But, you know, I don't believe that he knew what was going on. And I think he was truly, truly shocked when he found out what was happening. And, well, I hope you made it to the end of this video. And the ones that, thank you so much, the ones that watched that video. I know it was long. I usually don't like to make videos like that. But I had found so much information and research, and I was trying to pare it down. And for the ones that really did hang in there, thank you so much. And the ones that really got a hold of it, that were really listening to me, and thank you so much. Thank you all.